Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, good morning. Welcome to yet another episode of Redstone Lapis Lazuli. It is I, your host, Pogo Kiddo. My goodness, everything's all messed up. Wait a minute. I didn't. There we go. Hey, good morning. Yes. So this is round 2, right? Round 1, I forgot I muted myself. So I recorded the whole show for no reason. Good luck, bad luck, only Buddha knows. So anyways, I'm back now. I'm redoing my show, like the exact same thing I just did, but now I have like no energy because I burned it all in the first show. I was excited, and now I'm not. but now you can hear me, so maybe this might be better off. So let's begin. Check out my lighthouse I made. I finally made that lighthouse. So the lighthouse is a very, very nice object. Yeah, it's nice. And the way I have it is the way this works is that these 2 pistons are attached to this daylight sensor. And that daylight sensor, when it's nighttime, it extends both these pistons, which start the lighthouse going. The lighthouse is powered by 2 rows of observers up here, which powered two redstone lamps. So you need one for the top and then one for the bottom to get a row of 4. But it looks really good. It looks super good. It works great. And then to get up there, if you can't just fly around, I created a pathway. So under there is the gold pyramid, which we have our elevator, which leads us to the top. And I can see everything. Refund the community. That's right. And yeah, I can see everything, and it looks super nice. I also made improvements to the longhouse. In the longhouse, I was using a water stream to move the objects around, but for some reason, the hoppers would not pick up the objects, so they would gather into when I load the chunk, they would gather into this ginormous pile that never gets picked up, and it would just keep circling around over and over and over again, never getting picked up. So I had to acquiesce and give in and go back to using hoppers. And hoppers are fine. I'm okay with hoppers. But it just makes it more complicated. What happened here, guy? What? There we go. Hopefully that fixes things. Jeez, when did that happen? All right. Anyways, it gets, if it makes it to the end, it goes into another water elevator, which then just puts it back into more hoppers. It's all hoppers, guy. It's all hoppers. So yeah, I've been working on this. So I'm giving it a pretty front, so it looks a little nicer. Still got to work on it though. I also, I fixed the pattern because the pattern was not right. It had some mistakes in it. So, time.
Set the time to 36961000.
Set weather clear. didn't really work. But anyways, all right, yeah. So I fixed the pattern so it was like correct. It was not correct the last time. Da-da-da. And then up here, I added a melon farm on top of the Tower of Agriculture. Yes, the melon farm, the melon farm. So this is your standard melon farm whereby melons are grown and observers are observing the spots where the melons are grown. And if a melon is grown, the observer sees it and it will fire off a redstone signal, firing off the pistons, which turn the melon into an object. Once the melon is an object, it goes below. It goes below. Where it's picked up by the hopper and deposited into the stream. Into the stream. Yes. And sent back into the longhouse. So that was one thing I worked on. Another improvement besides the lighthouse. I like that lighthouse. It looks really good. And it works in the rain. Look at that, huh? Okay. What else did I do? So I fixed the path going up. There was already a stairway here, but it wasn't a very good, like it was kind of like janky. So I just made the stairway conform to the terrain a bit more and tried to like reproduce the terrain to be a little more natural. But yes, at the top of this is indeed it's a shrine. I made a shrine. Like I've been meaning to for a while. But yeah, I made the shrine. And inside the shrine, it looks like this. Whoa. Those are blue lanterns. And the light from the candles is not enough to light up this room. Yeah, I added the blue candles and the mangrove wood, and looks nice. I like it. So this reminds me of other times. Yeah, I won't get into. But yeah, you can interpret this in many different ways. Like, is it a temple? Is it a shrine? Is it a mausoleum? I don't know. Take it as you will. Yes, we must continue to support Ukraine. They have a small window of opportunity to press the offensive against Russia before the winter comes in and everyone gets bogged down again. So it's important for America, for the United States, to continue to supply arms and whatever they need to Ukraine so they can retake their territory from Putin. Putin is the source of all these problems. Okay, what else did I work on? The temple, the lighthouse, the creeper farm. Creeper farm is great. I went ahead and I replaced everything with only fans, and it works so much better. It works great. Once I did this, it was fantastic. So yeah, I went ahead and like since I have the Infinity Gauntlet and I can do anything, I finished the creeper farm. So no more ugly glass or cobblestone underneath. It's all tinted glass. I couldn't do it in survival before because I didn't have enough tinted glass. But now here in this mode, oh yeah. And you can hear all the creepers falling in. Even from here. It's so funny. It's so funny. This thing works so good. Okay. Oh no, you can't quite see. So here, let's see. Wait, do I have one already? Doot doot. Bop 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 bop. Bop ba da 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 bop 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 bop. No, I don't. Bop ba da ba. Potion. potion of night vision. Okay, oh yeah, perfect. You can see right inside. All right, so all I gotta do is stand here. This is about 20 blocks away. And you can see already the creepers falling in. Every time you see that light flash, it's because creepers have died and given me their goods. And look at all those creepers right there. There's one right there, one right there, like 4. And they just fall in the holes as soon as they start walking. All right, maybe not as soon, but relatively soon. See, that guy goes. That guy goes. Ah, it's fantastic. Do I have my I need a spyglass. What do they call that? A spyglass? Oh yeah, spy. It is. All right. Yes. So this thing works great. Every time the light flashes, creepers have died, and it's so quiet. You don't even know it's working. That's the beauty of it. Like that's when government is best when you don't even know it's there, when it's invisible and you don't even hear it, when it's that's when it's working the most efficiently. When it's just organically a part of this of whatever. So yeah, this system is great. It works really, really good. I enjoy it. Defund the police. That's right. Why? Why? Because Black Lives Matter. That's correct. Yes. Don't forget it. Okay, what else am I working on? It's all washed out because of the night vision potion. I've been working on other stuff though. Down here. Oh, it's all washed out. Until the night vision potion is over, yeah. So I've been working on models to describe reality. Because I think a big problem that people in the United States have is that they're not working from the same model of reality, the same map that everyone else is. It helps if we're all on the same page. If we're all on the same page, we can coordinate our actions and thoughts. Pardon me for a moment. Ah. It's itchy. All right, there we go. Not really. Better. Okay. Sorry. Okay, here's what we got. In the big picture, I'm saying the big picture. I'm talking my frame of reference is the whole world, right? I'm talking the globe, all the humans. In the big picture, at this moment in history, there are at least 2 competing systems. One system is called democracy. The other system is totalitarianism or authoritarianism. They're opposite systems in that they go in different directions. In democracy, power is diluted amongst the people. It's spread out. There's no concentration of power except through the people. However, in authoritarianism, power and wealth is concentrated. It's scraped up and concentrated into a tight ball and controlled by a very few small group of people. Those are the 2 systems that we have going in the world right now. It used to be, everything used to be authoritarianism. In the West, it was exemplified by the king. The power of the king, right? The king is ordained by quote God to have all this power. That's why he has all the power. But other systems over time have come up to challenge this idea that the king is the source of all power. This other form is called democracy, whereby no, it's not the king that has all the power. The power comes from the consent of the governed, from the people. And so the people are going to come together and make a list of rules governed by reason, not even by with a god, just with the human capacity for reason. We're going to create a more perfect system, better than the system of kings. So you can look at the shape of society when we talk about these different systems. When you have a system of power, when you have a system of power, the shape of your society is such that this is the law. Power is above the law. So that very few people at the very, very top with lots of wealth and power, and you have lots of people at the very, very, very bottom with no wealth, no power, no security. When you look at their relationship to the state as exemplified by the law, we see that the people down here, of which there are many, are below the law, but they're never above it. They're always stuck below it, but it never helps them. And you have this guy up here who is above the law and is protected by the law, but he's never below it, so he doesn't have to follow the law. This is an example of lawful evil, where, yeah, sure, you might have a law, but it's used for unjust purposes. This is what it looks like under rule of power. When power is king, you concentrate all the power and wealth into one person who is the king or leader. And whatever this person says goes, and everyone else must listen. If you try to down here, if you're a person down here, and you try to defy the power and say no against it, the power will use the law, the state through the law, to attack you and push you down. So, and then the story they tell will be that you, as the bottom, don't even exist. You're not even there, according to these power people. So it takes someone to actually go down and look to find out, oh my goodness, there are people down here. They're suffering. And they are where these guys get all their power and wealth. They suck all the power and wealth out from the bottom, and they concentrate it at the top. This is called a society with no justice. But you will never know that if you just listen to the people with the power, because they will never tell you. They will keep it secret. They want to tell you that this is just a natural way of the things that the way things go. It's just natural that the king has all the power. It's just natural that that person gets to dictate to everyone else. And it's just natural that these people down here that wouldn't even be talked about if you didn't mention it. It's just natural that they're at the bottom. Oh, that's what you get when you listen to these guys, because they want to preserve this system. Of course, why would they want to give up their power? It's working for them. The way things are in this system, it works for these people on top. So they would do whatever they need to make sure things don't change. They do not want things to change. They don't want change. Okay. However, the ideal, the thing that we want, the perfect thing that we want is a society with justice. If you have a society with justice, what would that look like? What would that look like? Everyone would be the same distance to the law as everyone else. everyone would be equal and protected by the law. It wouldn't matter if you were rich, if you were poor, if you used to be, if your ancestors were kings, or if your ancestors were slaves. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everyone is going to be equal before the law. That's the ideal. And therefore, the law, if you're doing this to the ideal, you want the law to reflect, to be our best attempt to approximate the truth. What is the truth? What is the truth? The truth is that which is. It's just that's what's there. It's what's there. The truth is what's there. Regardless of what you want or who you are or what you believe, it doesn't matter. That which is, that is the truth. This isn't like a new idea, right? This is from the Old Testament, from whatever. Moses, when he was talking to that burning bush, he was all tripping out, and he sees this bush that's burning but not. It's a bush. It's a tree. It's burning. The tree's on fire, but it's not on fire. It's not being consumed. The tree is on fire. It's radiating shit, but the tree is never consumed. It's putting out energy, but it's not consumed. And Moses is tripping. And Moses goes, dude, what are you? And what does he say? I am that I am. Well, what is I am that I am? What? You are what you are? It is what it is? And what is it? It is. That which is there. That's what it is. The truth. The truth. It all comes down to the same thing. The truth. That which is. So we want the law. We want to construct our best attempt to try to make a copy of the beautiful thing that we're beholding. We are beholding the truth, that which is. It may appear like on the surface to be ugly, but an ugly truth is more beautiful than a pretty lie. The most beautiful lie is uglier than the ugliest truth. It's better to know the truth than to not know the truth. Because then you acknowledge that which is, and you honor that which is. And what is God? That which is. So in a just society, we are going to try to construct the law, and we want that law to be as close of an approximation to the beautiful truth that we perceive as possible. And we got to do it together, right? We can't just pick one person to do it. It's got to be all done together. Okay. This is in contrast, and we do this so that the law covers and protects everyone and applies to everyone equally, so that not one person controls everything or is immune to the law. So we're at a particular moment in history where this matters. We're going to fold on a crease. History, time, and space are going to fold either in one direction or the other direction. It can't fold in both. It's got to pick one. And once it folds, it's done. I think a lot of things about Europe. Yo, what do you mean? What do I think about Europe? I'm trying to right now. I'm trying to. Well, here, yeah. This has to do with Europe as well. Mystery Mellow 1. This has to do with Europe as well, because in Europe there's the same question. I'm speaking from an American context because we're at a particularly sensitive moment in our American history. But yeah. Let me address from the European context, right? Because you guys really aren't any different. You're a democracy just as much as we are, and inside of Europe, I understand there are Nazi right-wing elements who are attempting to overthrow democracy. France had their election, and Marie Le Pen was there. What's that Nazi doing there? She shouldn't be anywhere near power. So yeah, things are crazy in Europe. And so you guys are making the same question. So the question of this is relevant, and this is applicable to you guys too, because your choice, just like for the United States, your choice is also between democracy and authoritarianism. Like, I like the European Union. I think it's a good idea. The European Union is a great way to advance human interests. I mean, look at Europe. For thousands and upon thousands of years, Europeans slaughtered each other over and over and over again. Like, for what reason? For the stupidest of reasons and for the most important of reasons. For like resources or for like religion. But over and over and over, they slaughtered each other for millennia. And after all that slaughter, all that suffering, all that tears and bloodshed, after all of that, they're like, let's stop. Let's stop hurting each other. Let's stop hurting ourselves. Let's come together, dudes. Let's stop. And what do? They looked at what the United States were like, yo, that's pretty fucking cool. Look what the United States did. I mean, they kind of fucked up. I wouldn't do what they did over there, and we wouldn't do like that either. But still, it's a good idea. Yeah, let's go democracy. Yeah, dude, I dig it. I dig the European Union. It preserves peace, and it stops violence. What language? Where are you from? Where are you from? What language? What's your language? Where are you from? That will help me. I mean, are you a European? Are you from Europe? Or are you Middle East? Like where do you come from? Anyways, so I know how best to talk to you. Je parle un peu de français. Je comprends un peu d'espagnol. I had a Swedish girlfriend, so I can flirt in Swedish. I mean, come on. To make it easier to communicate ideas. That's why I asked you, for better context. Like, if certain things I have to explain to Americans that I don't have to explain to Europeans. Certain things I have to explain to Europeans that I don't have to explain to Americans. That's why it's important I know where you come from. So Europe and the United States both have the same question regarding democracy versus authoritarianism. And it's salient to Europe because Europe is fighting a war against an imperialistic nation that wants to overthrow democracy. I mean, literally, Russia, Putin is trying to overthrow democracy and invade their neighbors and steal their things. So it's a really big, important question to Europe. Yeah, the Finns and Sweden just joined NATO. So that's pretty good. I'm glad. Welcome to NATO. So I was talking about the way that society is shaped. When you have a society like Russia under Putin, your society is shaped like this, where one person controls all the power. All that power up there, all that wealth, one person controls it all. And then that one person uses the state, the government, to pass laws to oppress all the people on the bottom so that they become invisible and you can't see them. That's when that society is a society with no justice. When you have rule of power. In contrast, for a society with justice, everyone is equal before the law. The law covers and protects everyone. The law illuminates everyone equally. Nobody is better than anyone else. It doesn't matter if your ancestors were kings or if your ancestors were slaves. It doesn't matter. Everyone is equal before the law. And the law is our best attempt to approximate the truth. So currently, in the United States, we are dealing with our history in the United States. You may not know as a European, but the United States has an original sin. What is original sin? What is original sin? It is the sin of our origin. That is what I'm talking about. The sin of our origin. The origins of the United States is based in sin. Which another way of saying that would be an evil. The origins of the United States is based in evilness. That evilness is manifested in slavery and genocide. Slavery of Africans who were transformed into African Americans, into Black Americans, and the genocide and of the Native Americans and the theft of and destruction of their culture and of their lands. The United States could not exist without slavery and genocide. Therefore, everything the United States does is tainted by that original sin of slavery and genocide. Therefore, the United States is obligated to make good on its promise of truth, justice, and liberty, not just for white landowning males, but for all humans, not just the privileged few, but for all humans. Only by making good on our promise for truth, justice, and liberty for all humans can Americans absolve themselves of their original sin of slavery and genocide. You must learn the history of the United States. It's a fact that the United States could not exist without the enslavement of Africans. It was their labor that built the material foundations for the United States to exist. If the United States did not, who knows what would happen had the United States not enslaved Africans or other people, or who knows what would have happened had the United States not stolen land and committed genocide. Who knows? Would the United States have even existed? No. No. The United States would not exist without slavery and genocide. Those are facts. And we cannot clean ourselves of this fact. Well, see, now you're starting to understand why Europeans and Americans are in the same boat. Just as America has original sin, Europe has original sin. I would say every nation on earth has original sin. Some kind of original sin. Maybe not every nation. Not every nation invaded and went on imperial conquests. Not everyone went imperialism. But yeah, so European, you guys have your own baggage, right? But I'm talking from the American's perspective, and I'm speaking to other Americans because in our time right now, you have to understand there are many Americans who are confused about things, and they got so confused they tried to overthrow democracy. Oh, you can compare anything to anything, guy. You can compare anything to anything. Europeans have their history, Americans have their history. That's called baggage. That's the baggage. Everyone has their own baggage. Okay, so now that I'm talking about baggage, let me show you the legacy of American baggage. The legacy of American baggage, of our history and genocide, our history of slavery and genocide, the baggage of that is concentrated wealth. It makes our society look like this. It makes our society look like this when we're supposed to make it look like this. So, what is the historical legacy of that? Let me show you. This is a graph of the wealth distribution of the United States of America. Over time, 1990s, 95, 2000, 2005, 10, 15, 20. So this is like recent times. Over time, how has the distribution of wealth changed? Well, since the 90s, it hasn't changed all that much. The rich keep getting richer. That's about it. But at this time right now, you see the top 20% have 43% of the wealth. The top 1% have 27%. The top 40, top fourth have 15. The middle, 7. Second lowest, 4. And the bottom have 3%. So when you graph that out, when you put that in visual form, this is what it looks like. One fence equals 1%. One brick wall equals 2.5%. One emerald brick equals 5%. So in the United States right now, the bottom 20% have 2.9, about 3%. That's it. Tiny. Nothing. They have nothing. The second to bottom 20% have 4.1%. So they have a brick wall and 2 sticks. Like nothing. The middle class, this is the American middle class that everyone says is perfect. That this is when people have enough. When people have enough, when people have just the right amount, enough, this is what we say they have. And what is it? It's 1 brick and 2 sticks. That's about 7%. But then you have your really, really well-to-do people. These people are doing really good. They got like great jobs. They're really successful, right? Their people, they have 15% of the wealth in the United States. That's 3 bricks. But then you get to the rich, the top fifth, the top 20% of Americans. They have 70% of the wealth. What? How can that be? How can that be just? When we say this is enough, how can this person have this much? Like all that much. And just the top 1% owns this much of the wealth. That's the top 20%. This is the top 19, and this is the top 1. The top 19, and then the top 1. That's crazy. That's crazy. When you have a society like that, this is the shape you get. It is unjust. This is the result of slavery and genocide. This is why we, as Americans, must labor to change the dynamic, to move away from this and to move to this. Remember, this right here is a Platonic copy of the form of the good. Our law is supposed to be a copy of the Platonic form of the good, which is, metaphorically the sun, the form of the good. It's supposed to be a copy of it, of the truth. So when you do that, when you nurture all the humans together, you get good results. Now, how does that work out? How does that work out in terms of mechanically? What does that look like? Well, when you use power, the rule of power, your society looks like this, and the poor people have nothing. But when you use the democratic process, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. Democracy, the democratic process. This is the whole point. A value that Americans share. All Americans, North Americans, South Americans, Central Americans. We all share this value of truth, justice, and liberty. Truth, justice, and liberty. We all share this value. So it's important that our institutions are a reflection of our values. Our institution is democracy. When we raise up truth, when we raise up justice and liberty, when we raise them up, and I'm not just talking lip service, I'm not just talking like blah, blah, blah. North Korea says they're a democracy, but when you look at them, they're not a democracy, they're not real, and it shows because their people are suffering while the ruler at the top gets all the good stuff. They're not a democracy. You have to actually, for real, lift up liberty and justice. And when you actually lift up liberty and justice, you will transform the world, right? You start a pulse of energy, and you can use that pulse of energy to transform the shape of wealth distribution. Because right now, everyone knows when you work, you spend money. You have to spend money to work. So all your money goes upwards, right? Everyone says, money flows up. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Yes, dude, that's by this design. Of course. But we don't want that. We want to change this to this. How do you do that? How do you change this? Because you keep spending money and it keeps going up to the rich, and the rich just hoard it and they turn it into power. How do you change that? Well, you got to pull it out through progressive taxation. That means the richer you are, the more you get taxed. So that means rich people can't hoard all the money. Well, what does it mean when you just tax people and you take that wealth? Like, what do you do with it? Well, you have to put that money back in. You have to redirect concentrated wealth into social programs. All that wealth is hanging out up here. You need to pump it back down to the bottom where it's needed. Rich people don't need more money. Poor people need money. So what progressive taxation does is it takes money away from rich people and it shoves it back over to poor people. How do you socialize wealth? Through things like healthcare, public works, education, and homes for homeless people. Because these are things that cannot be stolen. No one person can hoard health. No one person can hoard public parks. No one person can hoard education. When someone's educated, the whole society benefits, not just one person. When you have an educated population, the whole society benefits because everyone just has better ideas and are able to get along better. So you take that money from the very, very, very richest people and you through progressive taxation, you redirect it to social programs and you give it to poor people. And what do? You don't put all these barriers in front of them to make it harder to get help, like having to fill out applications and then get on a waiting period and then contact all your former employers and then get your landlord to sign a waiver and then write down all your dependents and then submit tax forms. Man, that's just a bunch of administrative barriers that stop help from arriving to the people who need it. There's homeless people out in the street begging for food. Do you think they have time to go fill out forms and applications? That's the stupidest idea. That's just a way to make sure people don't get the help they need. So rather than trying to micromanage the way people live, just give them the fucking money. Just give them cash. Just give them money. Poor people know how to spend money the best. They don't need a bureaucrat telling them to use their card a certain way or to fill out forms for another different card, or you have to use the right kind of card for the right kind of thing. Dude, just give them money. What are they gonna do with it? Are you afraid that poor people are gonna take over the government? Nah, dude. Poor people are gonna spend it because they're poor and they need to take care of stuff that's not being taken care of because they're poor. Let me tell you an example. Let me tell you a story. There was a natural experiment performed by the United States. What's a natural experiment? A natural experiment, in scientific terms, is an experiment that just happens. You didn't plan for it. You didn't do it. In fact, you can't ethically do it. But it just happened. And so since it's going to just happen anyways, you might as well write it down and observe what happens. So what was this natural experiment? This natural experiment was, what happens if you just give people $2,000? What happens? And the benefit of this experiment is that it was massive. It was huge. It was like millions of people. Normally when we do experiments in social sciences, we're happy with like a sample size of like 1,500 people. If you can call up and talk to about 1,500 people, you can extrapolate to 350 million based off of a sample size of 1,500 because of math. And I took a class in this in graduate school, and it was insane. It was like it broke my brain, dude. It broke my brain. But it checks out. You can extrapolate from a sample size of 1,500 pretty good to like 350 million people. But besides that, right? That's a pretty good experiment. A natural experiment is even better than a sample size of 1,500 people. Your sample size in a natural experiment is millions of people. Millions of people got a cash bonus of $2,000 for the COVID crisis. All we had to do was track how that money was used and what happened to the people who used that money. And I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't have the study in front of me right now. I'm gonna paraphrase it. But what it found out was when you give poor people a one-time bonus of $2,000, what happens? They fucking spend it ASAP. What do they spend it on? Shit they need that wasn't getting taken care of. They either covered their rent, they covered some bills, or they bought groceries. It was gone, dude. It was gone. So what happens if and then how do they feel? Do they feel good? They feel like great about that afterwards? They were like, yeah, it was okay, but it was only temporary. It was a temporary respite from the suffering that they endure every day due to their poverty. Because they don't have enough money. So the lesson, and then, but if you're rich or if you're middle class and you just give people a one-time bonus of $2,000, it was like nothing, dude. It was like a one-time deal. They didn't really need it. So like they either enjoyed it or they saved it or they gave it to charity. Like it didn't really do anything to middle class or rich people. They didn't even notice it. Poor people noticed it, but because it wasn't regular, it was just a brief respite from the crush of the debt that they live under, of poverty. So what did you get out of this natural? And you can't deny it. You can't deny any of this. It was a natural experiment. It actually happened. Millions of people got it. So the results of this is that we need to give people a constant, the poorest people, the very, very poorest people. You don't need to give money to rich people. You don't need to give money to middle class people, but you definitely need to give money to the absolute poorest people. Because you need to keep it steady. It can't just be a one-time bonus, and you can't put all these barriers and chains on it so they can't actually use it. You have to let them use their money because they know how to use it best. And when you let them use their money and use it best, they will help themselves and alleviate their suffering. And you will begin to redistribute the wealth and move away from this disgusting, horrible shape that we started with and move toward a more perfect union. That's a better reflection of the truth. Because that's what you want to do. You want to be a reflection of the truth of our ideals. And our ideals are truth, justice, and liberty. So, and we're not going to get there like this. We're going to get there like this. This is the mechanism. This is the dynamics, the idealized way of how it happens. But as we all know, things are not ideal in the real world. As we all know, things are not ideal. So let me come back to history. At this moment in time, America, the United States is at a particular moment where we are going to fold either one direction or the other. History, time, and space is literally folding in one direction or the other. It can't go in both directions. It can only choose one. And what I like about it and what I feel like is like things move faster the closer we are to the singularity. So I like this part because this is like a time spiral, a time cube. This is like a time cube. We have in living memory enough of a pattern that I can show you a time spiral. So let me show you. Let me start. Way back over here, right? The time is 1993. Bill Clinton is president, and Hillary Clinton is his young wife, and she is very idealistic, and she really, and she sees that there are big problems in our American healthcare system. There are huge problems with the way in the 90s, Hillary Clinton saw there are big problems in our healthcare system. So Hillary Clinton got her husband to pass, or to try to push, the Health Security Act. This act would put a cap on the amount of money that private insurers could charge for stuff. Basically, she said she would create a federal budget and have private companies compete with each other while maintaining under that federal budget, and then that way she would cover everybody in America, in the United States. And of course, the Republicans were like, "What? No, we don't want to do that. Let's do something like this. The Heritage Foundation will come up with something else called insurance care. The Heritage Foundation, insurance care. Well, we'll give private insurance companies money to insure everybody. That's what we'll do it. Instead of making private insurance companies pay for everything under a budget, we'll do the opposite, and we'll give private insurance companies money to cover everybody." Meanwhile, in Canada, from the 1950s to the 1970s, they worked on socialized medicine. Canada has socialized medicine. But Canada didn't just get socialized medicine. It took them 20 years of the democratic process in order to come up with socialized medicine in Canada. But when they got it done, it is fantastic. They pay less money than Americans pay, and they get better healthcare outcomes. Everyone is a lot healthier in Canada than they are in the United States. And Canadians pay a lot less money than Americans pay. Isn't that weird? But it took them 20 years of the democratic process in order for that to happen. So here's Americans doing it for us, right? Here's Americans. Hillary's like, let's do Hillary care. Republicans are like, no, let's do insurance care. And what happened? Nothing happened. Turn the time cube. Twist the time cube. Twist the time cube. Now we're at in 2008. This was 1993. We twist the time cube. And now we're in 2008. The Democrats have control of all three branches of government. They control the Senate, the House, and the presidency. And Democrats say, let's take care of health care. So Bernie Sanders, with his progressive caucus of one person, maybe two people, the progressive caucus of two people, they propose universal health care. Let's give health care to all Americans. Let's just cover everybody. And just get it done. And the Democrats, who are pretty conservative, right? Because look at the progressive caucus. They're tiny. There's only two people. The Democrats are like, all right, let's not do public option and cover everybody. Instead, let's have all of these private insurance companies, and we'll have a public option if you don't want to do private insurance companies. So private insurance and public option if you want to do it. But no. All of a sudden, some asshole named Joe Lieberman out of Connecticut, he comes along, and Connecticut, you have to understand, Connecticut is their number one industry in Connecticut is healthcare insurance. So Joe Lieberman is the representative for healthcare insurance. And healthcare insurance is like, no, let's not do that. Let's do Romney Care. What's Romney Care? Romney Care is Mitt Romney is a Republican, and this is the healthcare plan that Romney did in Massachusetts. And it's a Republican healthcare plan, and he got that plan where? From the Heritage Foundation. He got it from the Heritage Foundation. So what was this? Insurance care. It was insurance care. Romney Care is subsidizing insurance companies with public money to cover to provide public services or to provide private services. So Romney Care gives public money to private corporations for health care. And that's what Joe Lieberman wants to do. He wants to take public money, take the Republican plan of taking taxpayer money and giving it to private insurance companies. And he calls it Obamacare. So what happens in the end? In 2008, in the end, they end up passing Obamacare, the Republican plan, Romney Care. They use Democratic votes in 2008 to pass a Republican healthcare plan. Democratic votes in 2008, and they pass a Republican healthcare plan. And then the Republicans say, "Oh, look at this terrible socialist plan. What a shitty plan. Look at this Democratic socialist plan. Oh my God." All the Republicans piled on it and tried to destroy it. They said, "Oh, Obamacare is a socialist takeover of healthcare. This Heritage Foundation plan that was changed to Romney Care, that we call Obamacare, is a socialist takeover, and we shouldn't have any healthcare coverage for any Americans. We should go back to the old system when they just go bankrupt." But so Democrats spent a decade trying to defend Obamacare, which is a Republican healthcare plan. And why? Because they painted Bernie Sanders and progressives as the bad guys. They said, "Oh, Bernie Sanders spoiled everything. It was all Bernie Sanders' fault. It's those progressives. They're such bad guys." That's what was said in 2008. But wait! Twist the time cube! Now we're in 2022. 2022. We went from 1993 to 2008 to 2022. Oh, wait. Sorry. This is what the Democrats did in 2008 when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency. When they controlled all three branches of government, what do the Democrats do? They spend all their power to pass a healthcare plan. And even at the end, when they spend all their energy to pass a healthcare plan that would help as many Americans as possible, in the end, a traitor by the name of Joe Lieberman, who pretended to be a Democrat but was actually a Republican, he made these guys pass the Republican health care plan because it was the only thing. He would have blocked it. He blocked everything until they would let them pass the Republican plan. He blocked everything until they passed it. Joe Lieberman made them pass this plan. But even that's what the Democrats did. They spent all their political capital just to get health care reform. And what happened after that? The Republicans attacked them for it, and they lost everything. They lost control of the House and the Senate after that, and Obama had to spend the rest of his presidency fighting off the Republicans, trying to overthrow his presidency. Okay, so when Obama, and then when Obama was not president, we had an election, and what happened? Rise of the Republicans. Republicans. Remember when in 2008, Democrats controlled all of government. They controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they spent their power to pass healthcare reform. Now, Republicans have control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So they get to put out their values and their vision of America, to help America out. So Democrats, when they did it, they sacrificed themselves, everything, to pass a Republican health care plan just to help America, just to help America a little bit. And they suffered, they paid for it by losing power. Now Republicans have all the power. So Republicans take all their power, all their strength, all their vision of what they believe to be true, and they push it out there to make it real. And what do? What do? Well, remember, in the 1950s, the tax rate used to look like this. If you were really poor, you paid very low taxes. But when you start getting up to billionaire range, you start paying 70% of your income to taxes. This is in the 1950s, right? This is how they managed to pay for the interstate highway system. This is how they managed to get all the good things they had in the 1950s, because the billionaires paid their fair share and poor people paid the lowest because they have the least. But in 2018, the Republicans had control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency. So they were able to push forth the perfect Republican vision. This is the quintessential perfect Republican vision. This is exactly the way the Republicans want the world to be. This is the crystallization of the ideal of Republicans. This is their ideal. This is their ideal. The Republican ideal is that the poorest people should pay the most taxes. The poorest people pay the most taxes, and the richest people pay the lowest taxes. They use the power of the House, the Senate, and the presidency to put forth their perfect vision. And in their perfect vision, the richest people pay the least, and the poorest people pay the most. Another way of showing their perfect vision of the perfect is this here. The poorest people pay the most, and the richest people pay the least. So everything flows up to the richest. That is this is the Republican ideal. This is what Republicans want. This is the perfect crystallization of what they want. And we know so because that's what they made when they had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency under Trump. This is what they passed. It wasn't this where they redirect money back down to the bottom. No, they took money from the bottom and shoved it back to the top. That's all they did. That's all they did. So that was in 2018. Twist the time cube. 2022. Bernie Sanders, with his progressive caucus of over 90 people in his progressive caucus. Before, he had a caucus of one, maybe two. And now, progressives are 90 strong. And they say we need a $6 trillion investment in order to help Americans out, in order to save America. He coupled it with a $4 trillion investment in infrastructure called the Biden infrastructure bill. However, this guy named Joe Lieberman. Oh, wait, no, I mean Joe Manchin, not Joe Lieberman. This guy named Joe Manchin comes out and says, no. This bill is only going to be $1.5 trillion. So wait a minute. Progressives knew that if they passed Manchin's little tiny $1.5 trillion bill, if they passed it, Manchin would kill this bill here. So they said, no, we're not going to do it. We see your trap, Manchin. We know who you are, Joe Lieberman. Fuck you, Joe Lieberman. Fuck you, Joe Manchin. We know who you are. All right, so But things happen, and the Democrats really needed to win. They just lost Georgia, the Georgia governorship, to the Republicans. So Joe Biden was begging. He begged the Progressive Caucus, please, progressives, please pass Biden infrastructure bill. And I promise Joe Manchin will vote for Build Back Better, BBB. I promise. Joe Manchin promised. And progressives are like, all right, dude, all right, if you're begging me, fine, we'll do it. So they passed Biden infrastructure bill, 1.5 trillion. As soon as they passed it, Joe Manchin said, yeah, I'm not doing Biden infrastructure bill. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, suckers, ha 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 ha. So it went from Bernie Sanders saying we need 6 trillion to Democrats agreeing that we need 3.5 trillion to Joe Manchin saying, oh no, we only need like 1 trillion, or we should even do the GOP offer. How about 650 billion compared to what Democrats agreed to, 3.5 trillion? Look how little that is. That's ridiculous. And even that was too much because Manchin walked away from it. And then he comes back and he's like, hey, Democrats, I've been talking to my Republican friends, the Republicans who want to overthrow the government, and they're willing to offer 300 billion. Manchin. Look at Manchin negotiate for the Republicans. It's ridiculous. So right now, yeah, they're trying to maybe pass this tiny little bill. But as they're trying to pass this tiny little bill, what's happening? They're trying to blame Bernie Sanders for causing problems. And not Joe Manchin, who's tanked the whole thing. They want to say Bernie Sanders did it and not Joe Manchin standing with the Republicans. So that should tell you very clearly what team these people are on. Because one team wants to make a society like this. This is the Donald Trump team. And the other team wants to make a society like this. This is the Democratic team. You can't have both. You can't do both. So again, we can look at each party and see what happens when they have power. In 1993, when they had power, Dems tried to pass a healthcare act that would help everyone. In 2008, Dems spent all their political capital to pass a healthcare act that would help as many Americans as possible. In 2022, Dems are spending all their energy in order to pass a climate act that would help as many Americans as possible. But when the Republicans have power, they spend all their energy to make sure billionaires pay as little money as possible and that poor people pay as much money as possible. So that gives you a clear view of what the priorities are of each group. What is the ideal of this group and what is the ideal of this group? It's very, very clear. Here, let me show you some more fine-grained details. Let's get more fine-grained into it. Let's see. Now, the first thing you got to know, the first thing you got to know is that Republicans are Nazis. Republicans are Nazis. Republicans are the Nazi party. If you don't want to be a Nazi, you shouldn't be in the Republican Party because the Republican Party is a Nazi party. If you say to me, you're a Republican, I'm going to think you're a Nazi. Because why? Because that's what they are. They brought some fucking European dude, Viktor Orban, from Hungary, who's not in the Nazi party over there, and he came over here to the United States to their convention and repeated a bunch of Nazi shit, and they all clapped for him. So it's a fact that Republicans are Nazis. That's a fact. And another fact is that Republicans want to overthrow the United States. They attempted multiple times already, and a lot of the candidates who won their primaries have already said that they want to overthrow the United States, that they don't want to follow democracy anymore. So if your party is voting for people in the primary that say they will overthrow democracy, I'm going to say your party is a Nazi party. So understand that Republicans are Nazi parties. They're Nazis. They're white supremacists. They're racists. They're bigots. They're evil people. If you don't want to be an evil person, don't be a Republican. Let me show you an example of the way that Nazis will twist language. So a dog whistle is as you know already, right? A dog whistle is a whistle that when you blow it, humans cannot hear it. But dogs, they can hear the frequency. So they will perk up. They will respond to the dog whistle, whereas a normal human will not hear it. A political dog whistle is a way of messaging to people so that some people don't hear it, but other people do hear the message. So it's a way of racists and Nazis for them to communicate with one another. They use dog whistles as a way of communicating to other Nazis that they're on the same team. So if you hear a person say Soros, what they're talking about are the Jews, as in we hate, the people talking hate Jews. If the person talking talks about coastal elites, they're talking about Jews, and the person talking is an anti-Semite. If the person talking is talking about cosmopolitan elites, what they really mean are the Jews, and that means the person talking is an anti-Semite. If the person talking is saying New York values, what they really mean is the Jews, and the person talking is an anti-Semite. If the person talking says Hollywood liberals, what they really mean is the Jews, and the person talking is an anti-Semite. If the person talking says globalists, what they really mean is the Jews, and what they are anti-Semites. The person talking is an anti-Semite. If the person talking says international bankers, what they really mean is the Jews, and the person talking is an anti-Semite. A racist. An anti-Semite is another way of saying racist. But those are particular racists against Jewish people. But they're racists. But their dog whistles don't just stop with the Jews. Their dog whistles go a lot farther. Let me show you. Joshua here has identified a pattern. This is the cycle of co-option of black language, and it follows a pattern. Black folk will notice something about reality, and they will put a sound to it, a particular sound to this phenomenon and associate it. And it's illuminating. This association of sound and phenomena is illuminating. It's good. It's fantastic. It's delicious. It tastes wonderful, and I want to reproduce it. So black folk will do this, make this great thing, and it's good, and other black folk spread it around to black folk. Friends of black folk will hear what the black folk are doing, hear this new sound associated with the phenomenon, and go, yeah, that blows my mind. That's a fantastic way of expanding my consciousness to include more of reality. I mean, I didn't have a word for it before, but that's perfect. That's great. Yeah. But then you start having skeptical contingent allies, people who are not so sure. They're like, I don't know that sound. Are you sure they're associated? Are you sure? I don't know. And then you have challengers. So I don't think the sound is associated with that thing there. I don't think it's that at all. I think that sound might be associated with other things. And then you have opponents. That sound is going to lead to bad things. That sound is associated not with the thing over there, but with all these other things. And then you have the anti-black folk. That sound will lead to the end of everything we hold dear. So how does that manifest? Actually? Let's use the word woke. Black folk notice control. White supremacy is nothing but control. You could not have anything here if you did not have control. Slavery, remember, the original sin of the United States is slavery and genocide. Both of those things, slavery and genocide, can only exist because of control. One human exerts control over another human and deprives them of liberty. One human unjustly exerts control and steals the liberty of another person, thereby debasing both liberty and justice. And to recognize that, to be aware of that, is a revolutionary act. To be aware of white supremacy, to be aware of the control of white supremacy is a revolutionary act. To be aware of it. Just the awareness of white supremacy is a revolutionary act. So yes, everything around you is a result of white supremacy. So in order to conduct yourself appropriately, be aware at all times of the white supremacy that is around you. It is embedded in the material conditions all around you. Even at this very moment, it is embedded in the material conditions. White supremacy. Be aware. Now, you have allies who see this and go, yeah, that's a fantastic way of putting it. I'm going to say, stay aware of white supremacy. Stay aware of this white supremacy that's all around us. Stay aware. But then you have contingent allies. You have people who are not so sure they're friends. Not so sure they're friends. And they say, well, what does it mean to be aware of white supremacy? Like, what are you just causing problems? Like, I don't really understand to be aware of white supremacy. What does it even mean to be aware of white supremacy? Like, what? Are you sure there's even a white supremacy to be aware of? Right? And then you got your challengers. Dude, what's up with this people trying to be aware of white supremacy? Folks try so hard to be aware of the material conditions. Like, why do you try so hard to be aware of them, man? Why can't you just be? Why do you have to always talk about the material conditions of white supremacy? Why do you have to bring them up all the time? That just causes problems. And then you have your opponents. The awareness of white supremacy is causing issues. It's just gone too far. They keep bringing it up and not bringing up other more important things like how to give money to rich people. This awareness of white supremacy is just a distraction from other issues, is what they'll say. And then finally, you have anti-black people who say the awareness of white supremacy will lead to the downfall of everything we hold dear. Everything we have worked to accomplish will be undone by the awareness of white supremacy. So that makes you understand how dog whistles work. Instead of saying the awareness of white supremacy, they just say woke. Instead of saying blame the Jews, they say all these other things. But it's a nod, nod, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's what they're doing. Because if they come out openly, if Nazis come out and openly say, oh, I hate Jews, of course they're going to get beat upon. Everyone's going to be like, fuck you, Nazi. So Nazis have to stay hidden and have to communicate hiddenly to one another, secretly to one another. And they do it through dog whistles. All right, what else do I got? So we're in a historic moment. We have one group of people working real hard to set up a system whereby all the money flows to the top. How do I know? Because they created a tax system that would do exactly that. That's exactly what their tax system does. It takes money from the poor and it concentrates it at the top. It's the opposite of the democratic ideal, in which you take money from the bottom and you give it, or you take money from the top and you give it to the bottom. Because this is how you make the interstate highway system. This is how you make universal health care. This is how you make universal child care. This is how you make universal education and college. This is how you make universal charging stations so we can all get off of oil and stop giving money to Mohammed bin Salman and move to electric cars. This is how you do it. You tax the rich and you don't tax the poor. Republicans want this system. They want this system, and they make it, and you can tell because their system looks like this, where only the rich will have electric cars and the poor will suffer. Only the rich will have health care and the poor will suffer. Only the rich will have air conditioning and the poor will suffer. Only the rich will have the good things and the poor will suffer. In fact, it's the suffering of the poor that creates the conditions for the rich. That's why you have to be aware of what's going on so we can create a system that changes it. Because even though this system is disgusting and gross, and even though we're going to get a shitty bill out of it that's nowhere near good enough, even though we're not going to get what we need, it's still better than what we're going to get out of a system of authoritarianism. It's better than what we'll get out of them. Even though democracy is a disgusting, ugly system, inefficient, that has bad outcomes, the bad outcomes we get are miles ahead of what we're going to get out of authoritarianism. Russia's going to give you shit. China's going to give you shit. Yeah. Authoritarianism is not going to give you what you need. Democracy is what gives you what you need. As bad as what you get out of it, it's still better than what you get out of the shit over there. Out of that's just nonsense. So what else do I got? So understand that our system is kind of like under attack right now by Nazis, white supremacists, on multiple levels. One of those levels was the judicial system. I mean that Republicans put into power a judge they knew was dirty, they knew was corrupt. So how do I know? Because Donald Trump, because the FBI under the director of Chris Wray gave all the information, all the tips about because they were going to do an investigation to vet Brett Kavanaugh to make sure he was a good guy. They wanted to vet him. But they did the opposite of vetting. They listened and they got all the tips from all the people who said bad things. They're like, oh, I have this bad story about Brett. Oh, I have this bad story about Brett. They phoned in all these tips to the FBI, and the FBI then took all these tips and gave them to Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump said, okay, all these tips, FBI, don't look at them. And that was the end. Do you think I'm lying? Do you think I'm wrong? You think I'd lie about that? Don't fucking listen to me. Listen to the actual what happened.
As you know, we are now entering the fourth year of a frustrating saga that began with an August 2019 letter from me and Senator Coons regarding the Kavanaugh supplemental background investigation. And I'd like to try to get that matter wrapped up. First, is it true that after Kavanaugh-related tips were separated from regular tip line traffic, they were forwarded to White House counsel without investigation?
I apologize that in advance that it's been frustrating for you. We've tried to be clear about our process.
I'll be less frustrated if you just answer the question.
So when it comes to the tip line, we wanted to make sure that the White House had all the information we have. So when the hundreds of calls started coming in, we gathered those up, reviewed them, and provided them to the White House.
Without investigation.
You gave them all to the White House. You gave all
we
the
reviewed them and then provided
to the White House.
You reviewed them for purposes of separating from tip line traffic, but did not further investigate the ones that related to Kavanaugh, correct?
Correct.
Is it also true that in that supplemental BI, the FBI took direction from the White House as to whom the FBI would question and even what questions the FBI could ask?
So it is true that, consistent with the long-standing process that we have had going all the way back to at least the Bush administration, the Obama administration, Trump administration, and continue to follow currently under the Biden administration, that in a limited supplemental BI, we take direction from the requesting entity, which in this case was the White House.
So what happened was everyone said, "Oh shit, this Brett Kavanaugh guy is a bad guy. All this dirt is coming out about him. He's a bad guy. He's a rapist and he's a drunk. He's a bad guy. He's a bad judge. He's no good." So Donald Trump, hearing this, took the initiative and he ordered the FBI to do an investigation. But because he was the one ordering it, he was able to outline exactly the way they did it. And that means the FBI had to follow exactly that thing. They didn't do their own independent investigation. They did the investigation according to Donald Trump because Donald Trump ordered it to be done that way. So yes, the FBI took all the tips about Kavanaugh, didn't look into them, and handed them to Donald Trump. Then Donald Trump said, "Okay, all these people, don't interview them, and if you do, you can only ask them how good was, I mean, like how, what's a good way? Like, ask questions in a way that can only make Brett Kavanaugh look good." It's like, and I can't think of one right now, but like you can do it. It's like, "Oh yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. How many grandmas did he help across the street besides that one? Like besides the millions of grandmas he helped across the street before? Oh well, zero. But he helped across millions. Like see, like that's how they controlled the investigation. So you would never find out about the dirt of Brett Kavanaugh, and you would never find out that he was bought and paid for, and he's a bad judge. But that's how they control the Supreme Court. That's why the Supreme Court is illegitimate, because Donald Trump, who's a traitor, subverted the FBI in order to get a bad judge on there. And we have it on. They just admitted it. It's like under oath. It's not a secret. It's under oath.
As to what follow-up they want.
So
and that's the direction we followed. That's the direction we've consistently followed throughout the decades, frankly. You asked specifically about who.
No.
And what? Like who we...
Yeah. I said, is it true?
It is true as to the who. As to the who. I'm not sure, as I sit here, whether it's also true as to the what questions, but it is true as to the who we interviewed.
Okay.
Yeah. So who? It's important. Donald Trump said who they could interview and who they could not interview. So Donald Trump found out about all these people and made sure they couldn't interview them to get Brett. And then they said, "Oh, we did an FBI investigation." Liars. So this is just one example of how Republicans are Nazis. Just one example. And who are trying to subvert American democracy. And why Republicans are enemies of the people. And if you don't want to be a Nazi, you shouldn't belong to the Republican Party. And if you don't want to be a Nazi, don't vote for Republicans, because Republicans are Nazis. So if you vote for a Republican, you vote for a Nazi. That's just the way it is. Republicans are a Nazi party. No way around it. All right. I think that'll do it for me for now. I'm pretty like exhausted. This is like the second show I've done in a row. But what I'm trying to show you is that even though our process is like the ideal would be great, and the way it comes out is disgusting and like just gross because it's not at all what it needs to be, it's still better than what you get out of authoritarianism. This is unjust and must be destroyed. The world can't have both. Sorry. Can't happen. Okay. I'm done for now. Until next time, America. Peace. Pogokiro out. Stop.